Dr. Rollin McCraty, he's the guy that if you've ever seen pretty much any documentary that has to do with wellness, or he was featured in the documentary of Tom Shadyac, I Am, healing, you'll always find that HeartMath is being mentioned. And if HeartMath is being mentioned, Dr. Rollin McCraty is going to be mentioned as well, and he's going to be the one giving the information because he is the director of research for HeartMath Institute. I was very fortunate enough that when I did my HeartMath training about now 3.5 years ago, back in 2016, Rollin was actually there to lead our group for a good chunk of that training. And I've gotten, the chance to speak with him and really learn from him over these years. So thank you so much, Rollin, for joining us here. How's your day going so far?
No, it's a great day. It's a beautiful day here in Northern California. So
perfect. And am I getting you actually at the Institute right now, or are you in your home office?
I'm in my office at the Institute, yes.
At the Institute, there you go. Perfect. So, as I mentioned to you, the whole purpose of this show is really to kind of inspire, because I felt that, coming from that background of NLP and hypnosis, NLP since I was about 22, 23 years old, and then hypnosis I got trained in back in 2013. I was doing a lot of good work with clients, but there was always this sort of part of me that I didn't quite understand what it was that I was doing that really made that transformation happen when it happened. I almost felt like I was kind of getting it by fluke, right? And it wasn't until my own journey through burnout, which happened in 2015, which led me to discovering a solution, which led me to HeartMath. But after I became certified with HeartMath as a trainer, I really felt that was the missing piece, that connection of the emotions, right? Because it's this, even my whole business is coach the mind, mindset, but really understanding the impact of the heart and the role the heart really plays in terms of, the heart knows before the brain even knows. So I know I just said a lot of words, but I just want, high level, can you help us sort of connect that heart-brain communication?
I'm sorry, help you connect heart-brain communication?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, sure. I mean, at a basic physiological level, the heart, as you would know as a trainer, sends far more information up through the nervous system to the brain, and the brain sends to the heart. And there's a whole research path and hundreds of studies around heart-brain communication in the field of psychophysiology. It's kind of siloed, and a lot of people outside of that community don't really know that. In fact, that one of the most famous hypotheses in the field of psychophysiology was that the heart has a causal role in modulating perception. And that goes back to the late 60s, early 1970s. And of course, long before I came along. And a lot of our research actually built on a lot of the forefathers in that space. To help give this some context, terms were introduced back then in the early 1970s, I'm talking about. And those terms were called cortical inhibition and cortical facilitation. And these were used to describe the effects that the activity of the heart was having globally on brain function. At that time, the mechanisms weren't understood, and many studies, under the bridge, so to speak. Since then, we now know pretty clearly the mechanisms and at a physiological level, the workings of how that all works.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And when the heart is coherent, when we are resourceful, it seems that we have access to our brain. We're more creative. We have ideas. Just kind of joining ideas together as well, right?
No.
A lot of the conversations that we have is around transformation. And I remember when I was up there in May, you were speaking about the role that, just the deeper wisdom, because we kind of work, this audience kind of works in this, the conscious mind is only aware of, a little bit of information, right? And some people say 7 plus or minus 2. And then the unconscious, though, is actually aware way more than the conscious mind. Right.
Yeah,
and it seems that
I don't know if I would use the word aware, but certainly processing.
Okay. Right. So, yeah. So let's use this, because it seems that the heart is aware or knows even before the unconscious mind knows.
Yes, in the context of what we describe in our research around what we call non-local intuition.
Okay.
type of, and I, so I can talk about this non-local intuition. There are many, many examples people have of it. The mother who knows their child's in distress on the other side of the planet, or we have intuitions about the future. The types of things we can't explain through the other type of intuitive processes, implicit learning and memory and energetic sensitivity are the other two main types or buckets. But this is really the kind of intuition that we can do research in the lab, and beyond a shadow of a doubt, we've proven this, and that the heart gets the information first and sends a measurably different neural signal to the brain, alerting the brain, and then you get a body response, all before the future event happens in these kind of research paradigms. And that proves that there's something very real here about the heart involved in these types of non-local intuitions. That the real, from my perspective, the real gift that it gives us is what we tend to call as our inner voice, or that deeper inner voice. You know, I like to think of it as our inner GPS, right? The inner guidance system, which is a different voice than the mind. In fact, you probably remember from my talks and different conversations that I'm suggesting that one of the biggest hidden sources of stress globally is the lack of alignment between the mind and the heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and most people can relate to that. If you think about you being asked to do something or thought you should do something, maybe it was something ambitious or whatever, but you had a deeper inner feeling that maybe that's just not the best choice. Or it could be the other way around. You might have said something to somebody that caused hurt feelings, and you know, and you had an inner voice that you know you really need to go reach out to them and clean that up, but the mind just didn't want to. So that's kind of what I'm talking about in terms of our day-to-day experience. I don't know if I've answered your question or not, but
yeah, you have, right? And I know that when I took the content and everything that I learned from HeartMath into my own one-on-one work with clients, and you know, and just in that, again, that role in that conversation around personal transformation, right? What I really noticed is, you know, before it was let's get individuals really, you know, deep into their unconscious mind, which is just a model, right? But I think, and I know now what I was really doing is I was getting people deeply into their heart. I was activating a state of a resourceful, renewing emotion, right? Where they suddenly had this access in their heart to what's really good. I mean, you know, one of the techniques that we teach in the Resilience Advantage workshop, which I'm going to be running, as I was mentioning, in Las Vegas this summer, is the freeze frame technique. Mm-hmm. So if you have a decision to make, if you have something, you know, you're trying to figure out, do you go this way or do you go that way? When you get into the heart, you suddenly have access to more perspective and deeper insights than as opposed to just kind of letting your mind do all of the work.
Right. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and absolutely. And in fact, the reason we even got into the intuition research, you may not know this part, was the fact that so many people who were learning HeartMath skills and practicing them in their lives were coming back to us. I mean, many handfuls, saying kind of a common thing was, my intuition's on steroids. It's just like radically changed from before I started using the skills. And then the second thing they would say is, and synchronicities. It's become a way of life. So that's why we even started went down the intuition research path with so many people reporting this. So I would just, as a comment on what you were saying, I think there is, as you know, even in the Resilience Advantage, there's a module where we teach the 3 types of intuition. So in a way, well, not in a way, really all the what we can call unconscious processes, memories, really all fit in the implicit memory category if we're talking about the mind, brain, mind. Whereas what we're really talking about with that deeper intuition is really coming from another dimension, and that's what comes to the energetic heart, to the heart. So that's where you're really more your out of the box creativity and solutions can come from. But it's not taking away from the implicit processes. Those are also very important. And when we get in a heart coherent state, which I know you can describe without me, that really increases access to all of those types of intuition. So it's really a merger between heart and mind, not necessarily one or the other.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And, you know, for those of you that are watching, we can measure heart coherence using heart rate variability, But, very simply, we are activating our heart through a renewing emotion. So such as when we're feeling love, right? We can activate and raise our heart's coherence. And that seems to give us a segue, or it gives us access to this energetic heart, to the energetics of the heart.
Yeah, it helps opens the communication channel.
Yeah.
More than our normal walking around state.
Yeah, absolutely. And if one thing I can kind of pick on right here, or rather get you to define deeper, is it's more than just necessarily having access to stuff that we know, right? So, the unconscious mind model is that the answers are deep within our mind. We know better, we really know we should be doing this, or really have our own solutions figured out. But when we get, the heart intuition has access to just a bigger field that exists all around us, the universe, higher level of consciousness, higher level of thinking.
Yeah, basically correct. You're right.
Okay, all right.
So I am saying that you summarized it well, Mohammed, that there is the mind and brain, and that's the implicit stuff and the unconscious, but there is this other dimension or domain of reality that's part of our undivided wholeness that we're able to access.
Okay, all right. And what about the impact that we have on each other? Right. One of the conversations I wanted to do is really open up, and I want you to describe it, because I know this is one of your, your heart projects is the Global Coherence Initiative, right? And the impact on our heart's coherence on the planet.
Okay, so there's two questions I think you asked there.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Social coherence and global coherence.
Yeah. Let's do the local first. There's the obvious impact that we have through our body language, tone of voice, or have a big impact on others, and team dynamics, of course, the stuff everybody already knows. And I think what you're asking me about is the subtler, unseen, energetic communication that goes on between individuals or within a group. And that certainly goes on. We've actually proven that in several ways here in our lab. And at least that we know is based on magnetic communication. Now that may sound woo-woo, and when I first say that, but it's not. We know that every time the heart beats, it generates a literal measurable magnetic field. And I know this because we can measure it. I mean, there are magnetometers that can measure the cardiac field up to about 3 feet from the body, where you can measure brain activity or brainwave about an inch using the same device. So clearly the heart's the big player when we're talking about the electricity and the magnetic fields generated by the body. And as you also probably know, I'm an ex-communication engineer. That was my first career. So it's something I know a little bit about. And using the same kind of techniques I've used when I used to work for Motorola to decode or look at the modulation or the information being carried by magnetic fields, like in a cell phone or any kind of transmitter. You can apply those to the magnetic field of the heart and actually see and decode that the magnetic field is carrying information, certainly about our emotional state. Probably much more, but for sure about our emotional state. Then we can see those different information patterns riding on the field, just like a cell phone would work. And then step two, I mean, we know that we can measure it, decode it, see the differences, and tell with about 75% accuracy somebody's emotional state just on measuring the information being carried by the magnetic field. So the next step in that process was, okay, well, that's cool, but so what? Are the nervous systems of other people able to receive and decode and have measurable biological effects from that information? And clearly the answer there is yes.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the studies that we include in the resilience advantage training that you'll be giving is a study that was done that shows that when independent study of us actually, that when people are in a heart coherent state, you can think of as their personal field environment has a measurable impact on lifting others, even when they have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? And they're blind and naive to the experiment. So then part two of your question is, this gets into some of our more recent work with the Global Coherence Initiative, where we're putting magnetometers all around the planet. We're literally measuring the resonant frequencies of Earth. And we don't have time here in our short time to get into all the details of that, but basically one of the primary resonant frequencies of Earth, what are called field line resonances, literally is the same primary frequency as coherent heart rhythms of humans. It's amazing.
Yeah.
human resonances, which I won't go into detail here, but they overlap our brain waves, the same as humans. So basically, Earth and humanity are vibrating or oscillating in the magnetic domain at the same frequency. You know, and most people have seen and heard about resonance and the tuning fork demos and all that. And that works the same way with magnetic fields. You just don't need air molecules to transmit the energy. So what we're suggesting here, and what I believe to be true, is that our heart magnetic fields are literally coupling to the magnetic fields of Earth, so that we're really not only feeding our personal field, but also the global field. So you can think of it as this giant information processing system that we're all contributing to. And so, you know, one of our slogans here at HeartMath is ask yourself, what am I feeding the field?
Yeah.
Both at the local and global levels, because it all counts. In other words, what we feel, much more of a feeling than thinking, right, doesn't just stay inside of us. It literally is measurably radiating into the external environment, probably even into the global environment as well.
Yeah, no, and that's beautiful, right? And I mean, again, for me, I always felt, and I mean, I still do, that HeartMath really was the missing piece in the puzzle that I was looking for in my transformation work, because, you know, like, it's just, it reminds me of one family that I was working with, they brought their child very young, who, you know, was always in a state of distress. And I knew it had nothing to do with the child. It was really because both parents just weren't, you know, handling their stress as efficiently as possible. The child was simply, you know, feeding off of that. Sure. And this sort of metaphor that I have, I was actually explaining it to, I went away this weekend to the cottage with a couple of guys, and with, you know, there are actually more than a couple of guys, about a dozen of us. But I was basically thinking, you know, saying that, you know, we're either generators of emotions or we're repeaters, right? Where, you know, we have the option to generate a certain emotion, which affects the way we function and how we feel. Yet at the same time, you know, we can also, if we're not generating anything, we're simply just going to repeat and bounce back what's happening around us, right? So if we're surrounded by people who are, you know, depleting us energetically, right, through thoughts and emotions that are draining, well, we're gonna be depleted, and we're gonna, you know, bounce back and repeat that to other people as well. Whereas we can shift ourselves, right? And this is just at a very sort of you know, individual or family or organization as an example. And what you're speaking to is that actually impacts the whole global Earth as well, right? Once we start scaling up, which is quite amazing. Where can folks, I know we can have so many different conversations and really go deep and into hours and hours of this, but what's a good first step for people looking to learn more about HeartMath, or would just to get access to what HeartMath is all about?
Well, our website obviously is a great place, heartmath.org.
Yes.
You know, www, but you don't need that anymore. Heartmath.org, and there's lots of resources there. Books, if you're into the science stuff and want to dig deeper into that, a really good overview. It's about a 100-page book, but it's kind of written at a Scientific American level. Different chapters on different topics: intuition, energetics, communication, heart-brain communication, global coherence, outcome studies in organizations, education, different areas like that. It's called Science of the Heart, Volume 2. If people want to just kind of get more of the techniques, there's a book called Heart Intelligence. That would be the latest book, but there's a whole series of books you can get, and also some free techniques on the website as well, access to. But I think a great way is to find a coach or a trainer, you know, and attend a live program is probably the most effective way to really get into the transformational process that I think HeartMath can help deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you that are going to be in Las Vegas and joining me this August, I'm going to be running the one-day full program, The Resilience Advantage, on the Monday after the conference. So that's an option there as well. Some self-promotion there, right? But I'll include all of those links, right? And I believe that the book that you mentioned about the sciences of the heart is actually available on the website as a free book.
I'm not sure if it's free, but it's a download
version, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's free or not on the website, but there's a downloadable PDF or a hard copy version of it.
Yeah. The downloadable you have to pay for, but if you just go through the website and you're okay with clicking next, it seems like the whole book is still available there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hardly ever go to our own website.
Yeah, I know. Right. Yeah. You're the one writing the book, so. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Any last words or?
Well, I'd just be probably repeating what I said earlier. I really encourage people to pause throughout the day, take an inner survey of where am I at, what's my vibration, right? And ask yourself, what am I feeding the field? All right, is it really kindness and compassion and appreciation? Or am I feeding the field more anxiety or worry or frustration or impatience? Because I didn't get my to-do list done. So it certainly counts in our local field environment, but I think, as we've said, globally as well.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. Hopefully,
have a great day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right.